Happy 2023, my friends. Welcome to our discussion today about project management, being a senior PM or a PM. Now, in industry, we have different classifications of project managers. You might hear people refer to themselves as a junior project manager, or just simply a project manager, or a senior project manager. So perhaps in 2023, you want to go to that next level of being a project manager and become a senior project manager. But what exactly does it mean? Let's jump into the differences and take a look. So right off the bat, you could refer to a person assisting a project manager as a junior PM or junior project manager. You may also hear people refer to those positions as project coordinator or just a project expediter in some instances. But the bottom line is that they're junior to the typical project manager, and they do a lot of administrative work. Now, the project manager manages projects. Junior project managers, from my experience, they manage tiny, very little, almost more insignificant type of endeavors that would not harm the business unit or where there's very little risk or would not harm the organization. They usually assist project managers, but in some rare instances, they're given smaller jobs, kind of like giving them a teething ring, right? To cut their teeth on those tinier projects and to get into being a project manager by title. Okay, so let's jump into our PowerPoint here and go through a few definitions. So we're going to focus a little bit more now that we've talked about the junior project manager. We're going to talk about the difference between the senior PM and the PM. And the summary is it depends. It is really based on the company. It really depends more on the company. And in order to understand what exactly this is, you need to ask. You need to ask questions in the firm. You need to ask people who are in that position. You need to do some research if you're looking outside of your firm, and you need to align your understanding and your conceptualization of a senior PM with that of the organization you're applying to. Use a model would be my advice. In other words, in every organization, you have people with that title, in some instances, that may already be a senior project manager. Talk to them or observe them. Like in an organization I was in, I observed this senior project manager, and I got to understand very quickly what the expectations were in that firm. They were huge. I couldn't believe this was a senior project manager. He was doing the work of a program manager, a senior program manager. So you got to understand, some organizations, they haven't converted their definitions over to be more modern. They may still call someone who's managing programs a senior project manager. So you need to understand the unique organization that you're looking at or that you're aspiring to work with. Now, regardless the organization, there are a few things you should do if you are looking to move into a senior PM role. If you're looking to move into a senior PM role, I would say don't blindside your management, don't blindside your manager. It might be more prudent for you to actually let them know of your intentions if you're looking to move up in that organization, especially if you're part of a PMO, right? So to get to that next level, you got to work with management as a support. Usually it's reference-based in some positions and recommendation-based. So if you don't get any recommendations, especially in that firm, to move up in that firm, you may find it hard. And the best way to overcome any schisms is to have a conversation, first of all, with your manager. If it's the manager of the PMO, if it's a functional manager, let them know what you're aspiring to do so they don't feel that they were blindsided. Next, we're going to talk about the main differences. I'm going to share with you right now 20 different things to be aware of regarding the difference between a PM and a senior PM. 20 differences. Let's jump into it. The very first landmark of senior project management is your oversight increases. The typical projects a project manager does is multiplied by a factor, depending on the firm, when you become a senior project manager. You find yourself doing heavier planning, and that doesn't necessarily mean doing it all by yourself, but it means being able to coordinate large numbers of individuals to be able to get bigger projects done. So your oversight increases. Secondly, project complexity increases. You may find yourself needing to use a variety of styles, combining agile and predictive, using a more hybrid model these days, that is. You may find yourself working with a lot more contractors and consultants. So again, project complexity is dependent on the number of moving parts, the entities involved, and their dispositions. So not only are you working with more heavy process or more skill in the application of process, you find yourself needing more leadership skills to be able to harness all those moving parts. Number three, you find yourself being more of an escalation point. It's like, oh, go ask Phil, he's done this before. He's capable, he knows what is required. Number four, expectations increase. Just generally, anything can be thrown at you at any time because you're looked at as a senior. So just keep that in mind when you're taking this on. Your sphere of influence could increase in different ways. So what is influence? Influence is the ability to persuade, to move, and just by virtue of your title, you find that influence increases. The scope of work increases. You may find yourself putting in more hours, more work to get things done and to keep up with trust expectations. The responsibilities, what you are called on to do, increases. Your resource management availability may increase. So you may be called upon to actually manage individuals. So you may have some junior PMs or PMs reporting to you, and the availability of resources in order to carry out your job might increase. Not all the time, but it might increase. You might find yourself having more economic advantages like a company card and so on that you can use to a higher degree of spend. Number nine, PMO responsibilities and expectations may increase. These PMO responsibilities and expectations could be you setting up processes and procedures and guidelines, you putting certain things in place to make the PMO or the VDO, wherever it is, more successful. Number 10, audits. You could very well be involved in audits. In a company I worked with, the senior PMs were the ones who carried out the audits. So they audited projects of project managers, and that could be something you're called on to do. Number 11, presentations to senior management. Presentations about anything at a higher level of engagement and respect. Number 12, firefighting responsibilities. You could be called upon to save failing projects. One of the organizations I worked with, the senior PMs were called in, and they would actually travel in some instances to save projects that were dying. And unfortunately, sometimes those poor PMs who were trying to maintain and manage that project were kicked off and unceremoniously dismissed from the project so that they could bring in the big guns as senior PMs. Number 13, mentoring and coaching. Again, as a senior, it is just part and parcel of the job that you will coach and mentor those coming up behind you as PMs. And it's part of that sustenance plan for you to be able to sustain the great things you've started in that firm and for there to be a ready replacement should you leave. Change agent, talking about doing things smarter. I like one of the Agile principles, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Sometimes you got to cut out the fat, right? You got to take a look at the system, and you as a senior PM, you need to root out stuff that is not valuable. Just simplify it, Kaizen, that whole idea, okay? So be a change agent. When there's change, spearhead the change. Number 15, you are looked at as a strategic partner with program and portfolio management people. And what that means is they look at you as someone who understands the business better, who understands the way things flow, and can operate at a higher level than a project manager. without the senior in front of it. And that means being a partner to plan programs and to plan portfolios and gradually actually to strategize some of the higher level work that's coming down the pike in the firm. Number 16, a pathway to higher levels of authority and power. So when you become a senior PM, again, higher level of authority by virtue of the senior in front of your name, power, the ability for you to wield influence based on position, right? And it's not the best way, but it comes with the territory. I'm not saying that is the best way to influence, but with great power comes, of course, great responsibility and authority. Number 17, bigger pay scale. This is the one you were waiting for. Yep, more money. So being a senior PM in many instances will come with some increase in salary. Could be in the thousands, in some organizations in the hundreds. Number 18, trust should increase, but it may not. You know, the way you gain trust by hitting home run after home run, by keeping your word. So just because you got the title of senior PM doesn't mean that you're a great PM. Just like they're lousy CEOs, they're lousy PMs, they're lousy senior PMs, but you don't want that to be you. You want trust to increase. From what I've seen, when you go to organizations that have a good system of advancement into being a senior PM, those folks are respected and they're trusted. Number 19, role model. So as a senior PM, think of yourself as a role model that the junior PMs are looking up to and that the PMs are looking up to. They're aspiring to be in that role. So it's not just senior PM by title, but also senior PM by doing. And leadership visibility increases. So in addition to being a role model, you become an influencer to the PMs coming up after you. Now, there's a lot of overlap between these, but that is the general idea about being a senior project manager. Are you looking to be a senior project manager? Do you need coaching, training, mentoring, help to be able to go for that project management interview? Maybe you want to go for a PMO role. Maybe you want to go for manager of a PMO. Well, you need to go on down to Project Managers Anonymous. In other words, go on down to PMAnonymous.com and sign up for coaching and mentoring with me. And I'll teach you the tricks of the trade and things I used to move very rapidly through the ranks from being a junior PM to being a program manager. In one firm, I went from being a project manager to being a program manager within a series of projects and a few months. So you may not have to wait a whole lot. I made a move from defense and space into IT effectiveness, and it just happened within a few months. So depending on what you want to accomplish, I can show you things I did. I can mentor you, I can help you. Go on down to PMAnonymous.com so I can share those tricks of the trade with you. All right, next, we are moving into the professional timeline of what it could look like if you wanted to make that transition. Now, like I said, for me, it took some months. For others, it may take a little bit longer, it may even take shorter. So let me show you the professional timeline. Suggestions for the timeline, here we go, as far as moving from one to another. So starting off with the CAPM, from 0 years of experience to 3 years, you could be in a junior project manager position, project coordinator, project expediter. And after 3 years, you're then eligible to take the PMP, and then you could move into more fully fledged project manager roles. So based on PMI's certifications, and this is not rote, of course, there are exceptions. There's some really awesome PMs that are CAPMs and they don't have a PMP, but you could look at this as more like a junior PM role, okay, as far as the CAPM is concerned, the certification for junior CAPM role. And then after that, you could get into a PM role. in the next phase of the cycle, right? So you're junior PM for about 3 years. After 3 years, you become a PM. 3 years up, anything could happen. A number of things could happen. You could become a senior PM within a short period, just like I did, so you don't have to wait another 2 years to become a senior PM. It could be something that happens quite fluidly. And to be quite honest, in startups, you could actually find yourself very quickly get into the level of being a senior PM by title, just based on the quick progression that you typically make in startups. Program manager, 3 years up, depending on strength, you could become a program manager after 3 years, depends, and then portfolio manager, again, based on strength, based on interest, that could be something you immediately look into. However, most program managers who go for the PgMP, you would find them having upwards of maybe 5 years of experience, 7 years of experience. It depends. Portfolio managers, again, it really depends on your strength and your interest. But PMI has the PgMP for program managers, the PfMP if you are already doing that. Remember, those are not certifications for people aspiring to become program managers, right? It's a certification for someone who is already a program manager. So I'm just going to add to the list here for your interest, the PgMP for program management and the PfMP for those interested in portfolio management. So just remember, what does a program manager do? Program manager manages multiple interrelated projects, and those interrelated projects are managed by project managers. So you have a lot of project managers reported into the program manager. Portfolio management is all about doing the right work. So knowing how to balance the portfolio of work, knowing which projects and programs to take on, which operational endeavors to take on, and which ones to leave, prioritizing the portfolio, the maturity of the portfolio mix, the blend of the portfolio mix, and so on and so forth. For those of you who have more of a bend towards Agile, of course, there are a bunch of Agile certifications you could take. You got the CSM, you've got the CSPO, you got the CSP, so many of them that you could look into. Just going down to the Scrum Alliance website, if you're looking for low cost, low risk certifications that are legitimate in industry, going down to Ken Schwaber's website, which is scrum.org, you could take the PSM to begin with and start learning about the others. Okay, these are non-proctored tests. They're done remotely, and they're quite inexpensive, but they're very difficult compared to the CSM and the others. Okay, so if you are looking to get to that next level in your project management, like I said, pmanonymous.com is where you want to go. Get some time and let me help you craft a plan to get you to your goal as a project management professional or whatever you are working on. Thanks for joining me. If you got any more questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to get back. Bye for now.